Welcome to the She Did It Her Way podcast, where it's all about making the ultimate leap from your 9 to 5 and building a business and life you love, all while doing it your way. I'm your host, Amanda Boleyn. Let's get started. All right. Hello, She Did It Her Way listeners. Welcome. I am just going to get right into it because the lovely Miss Tori Dunlap and I were just chatting about over our water mason jars, which if you are on YouTube, you're going to be able to see. We both have our mason jars that we're drinking out of. So cheers. Yes.
Unplanned. Unplanned coordination.
Got to drink some water. If you've never heard of Tori Dunlap, she is the founder of an online platform called Her First 100K. And she is internationally recognized money and career expert. But after saving $100,000 at the age of 25, which is incredible, she quit her corporate job in marketing and founded Her First 100K to fight financial inequality. If I could speak, I swear I need more coffee, but it is afternoon and I just can't do that after, 12 p.m. because then I can't sleep and I like to go to bed at 9. There we go. Anyway, I digress. But to fight financial inequality by giving women actionable resources to better their money. She's helped over 1 million women negotiate salary, pay off debt, build savings, and invest. She has been featured on Good Morning America, New York Times, BBC, Time, People, CNN, New York Magazine, Forbes, CNBC, BuzzFeed, and more. Welcome, Tori. And
Thanks.
You have like an incredible over 2 million follower platform. So that's not a small feat at all. But welcome to the show.
Thank you. I know it's wild. It's like every time somebody reads my bio to me, it's like watching my life flash before my eyes. It's like a very weird experience, but it's very cool. So thank you.
I have to imagine. Yeah, it's got to be like an out of body. You're like, sometimes it's like, wait, me? What? Oh yeah, that is.
No, it's literally I did do that. Oh yeah, we did do that. That did happen. So yeah, it's wild.
I mean, so many questions for you on your journey and everything from, when you quit your corporate job and you bought the domain, did you ever envision it to be like this? And if so, what's different about the experience? So many things. But before I start rambling, kind of give us some backstory on before I start rambling. I already have. Why don't you give us backstory on who Tori Dunlap is, and then share with us your journey about that transition point between, quitting your job, saving $100,000 at the age of 25, which most people can't even imagine that money's in their account. Right. And a lot of my listeners are in that transition. I think whether they're you guys are tuning in, whether you are wanting to quit your job or have already quit your job, so much of what Tori's going to offer in this episode is probably going to be agnostic in the sense that everyone's going to benefit. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you talk.
Yeah, my journey was not what I expected. I mean, I started my first business when I was 9. I had vending machines, the kind where you put a quarter in and get a handful of candy out, and owed 15 of those by the time I graduated high school. And you can literally see, if you're watching on YouTube, I have the photo of the day I sold my business to a 10-year-old who also happens to be named Tori. So here's me. I'm like 20 years old and she looks like me. She literally looks like me.
That's your future version of your future self.
It's crazy. Yeah. So she's got to be 17 now, still running the business. But I grew up and knew the business thing was rare, right? I knew that wasn't normal. But I had parents who financially educated me. I had parents who told me, don't overspend on credit cards, learn how to budget, learn how to invest, learn how to negotiate. And I grew up thinking that was the case for everybody. I thought it was just normal. And of course, realized very quickly that wasn't the case, and that I was the friend all of my female friends were coming to for advice and guidance. And I graduated college in May of 2016. Obviously, Trump got elected not soon after that. And the more conversations I was starting to have, and the more I was coming into adulthood and womanhood in a very different America than I think all of us expected, I realized that having a financial education, having a financial foundation as a woman is our best form of protest. It's our best form of protest against inequitable, unjust systems and companies and just how we live our lives. The best form of protest against those systems is getting your financial shit together and being able to use money as a tool to make choices about your life. So like I said, graduated in May, Trump got elected in November, and I started the blog that later became Her First 100K in December of that year. So I was working a 9 to 5 in marketing. I was doing social media marketing in my 9 to 5. And then I was building her first 100K, or what would later become her first 100K on the side. And the origin story of like the rebrand that happened into her first 100K in 2019 was my own personal journey of trying to save 100K at 25, which I successfully did. So yeah, we built a lot of momentum. 2019 was a really good year for us. We ended up, I hit my 100K. I was on Good Morning America. And then 3 weeks later, I quit my job to run HFK full time. And that was in November of 2019. So 2020 was my first year really of full-time entrepreneurship. And it's crazy to think that like this time last year, we had about 30,000 followers. Now we have 2 million. We have a #1 business podcast called Financial Feminist with over 1.4 million downloads in like 3 months. So it's just been crazy. It's so cool that I now am making more money than I ever have before. I get to employ people, especially women, and allow them to build their own financial lives. And my work and our work has helped now all of these women throughout the world, really. And yeah, like I said, I don't think we have any sort of equality for women or any marginalized group until we have financial equality. So how can we view personal finance advice and guidance through the lens of making change in our larger system?
Oh, love that. And thank you for that chronological order. Cause I always ask that because I think it's helpful not to compare timelines, but more so at least my brain likes to organize things in timelines so that I can visualize things in my mind. But one quick thing, I totally think there should be some sort of transition course on adulthood from college, or at least integrate some teachings that might be useful. Not even just in college, but in high school, the education that is public and free on things about being an adult and tracking and money and whatnot. But talk to us about that transition from starting and running, doing social media while working full time, and then identifying, the time to leap, or kind of take us back to like just the emotional high level. Cause I think for a lot of my listeners, they are in their corporate job and they want to quit. And there's just so many thoughts that come about quitting and changing identities.
Yeah. I mean, I went to school for organizational communication and theater. So if you would have told me 5 years ago, Tori, you would be a financial educator full-time, I would have laughed in your face. I would have been like, what? No, that's not me. That's talking about money, talking about personal finance, talking about the stock market. I was like, no, that's not going to be me. So I graduated college and the goal was like, okay, I want to be like VP of marketing by 30. I want to put on like my pencil skirt and have my briefcase and, walk around, the city with my coffee and like take on the world in that way. And I got into my first role out of school and realized within 2 weeks, I was like, nope, this is not going to be for me forever.
You're like, no, I want to drink out of a mason jar, water.
It was just, I don't like working for somebody I don't respect. And I don't like making somebody else rich. And I don't like being told that I can take this amount of time off a year. And if I finish my work, it doesn't matter. I still have to sit my butt in my chair because I have to like perform working. And so there was just a lot of aspects of the corporate environment that I didn't love. My first job was amazing in terms of like, I got a lot of really good experience. I had, I met my best friend there. Like I had a lot of really good experiences. I also worked for, or at a company where all of the like C-suite executive level people were men who were either like ex-cops or ex-military. It was just a very different environment than the one I wanted. And, even my corporate jobs after that, there were so many good things, but there was still like, I did not care about any job as much as I cared about doing my own thing. Like even when the mission aligned, even when I liked my boss, even when I liked doing my work, I didn't really give a shit about it, to be honest. Like it was like, I cared about my thing and what I could build. And so, realized very quickly that it was like, okay, don't want to do the corporate route for forever. And thought like, maybe I could have my own business by the time I'm 30. And of course, by 25, I ended up being able to quit and run my shit full time. So it was just kind of this crazy thing that happened where, I built it really slowly and organically. I've never paid for a publicist. I've never paid for ads. It's all been organic. And I'm really, especially as a marketer, I'm really proud of that. And emotionally, like it was just really interesting when I was on the precipice of quitting. The universe very much made the decision for me. That was the irony. is I had told myself, okay, when you are making as much, if not more, consistently in your side hustle, compared to your 9 to 5, like, cool, you can quit. And I purposely was not calculating that number because I was so scared of quitting. So that was the irony, was I was so excited to leave. Like, I was so motivated to leave, but I wasn't looking at my numbers in case the numbers told me I got to quit, because then I would have to actually do it. So I remember a bunch of friends I was talking to, especially around that time, I was like, okay, well, it'll be in 6 months. And then I'd talk to them 3 months later and I'll be like, yeah, 6 months from now. And they're like, you said that 3 months ago. Because the downside, it's not even the downside. It's more, I grew up so financially minded with parents who always chose the stable decision, that weirdly, that was like a side effect of my like smart financial education, was like, don't take a risk. Where are you going to get health insurance? How are you going to make a steady paycheck? And so it was actually a decision that the universe kind of made for me. It's a long story that I don't really want to get into, but it became very clear at my corporate job that, like, all right, I need to quit. The success of this business is now making some people that I work with uncomfortable. And they're thinking that, I am spending too much time over here, which I probably was. And I had money in the bank. I had hit my 100K. I had momentum. I had a proven concept. And it was like, all right, I think it's time. And even then, my parents, who I love, but they called me and they're like, don't quit your job. Like, do everything you can to stay. You need to make sure, like, again, health insurance. That was a big thing. Like, what are you going to do with health insurance? Right. And I was like, well, I'll get my own. And they're like, you need to keep your job, Tor. And, I was like, I appreciate that. I respectfully disagree, and quit, and am making 40 times my corporate salary.
That's
so
insane.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think about, but it was like weirdly the side effect. I talk about this a lot with clients, and I have a podcast episode about this, of like overcoming your psychological bullshit around money. We have so much money trauma and money stories. And for most clients that I work with, their experiences growing up around money were not great. It was like, okay, my parents always fought about money, or I realized we didn't have enough money. Mine, was the exact opposite of like, okay, my parents made really smart financial choices to be able to give me good opportunities and educated me about money, but it still in a lot of ways negatively impacts me when I go to take a potentially quote unquote risky decision. Totally. Which that was probably my biggest risk that I took in my life, was like leaving this corporate scenario, starting to run my business full time. And little did I know, of course, there would be Corona 4 months later. So, yeah, I, of course, would make the decision 100 times over again, but it was just really interesting to watch even my, like, positive feelings around money kind of negatively impact me in that way, because I was so nervous about quitting that I held off as long as I possibly could until the universe was like, nope, okay, if you're not going to make the decision, we'll make it for you.
Right. I think it's, when I do these interviews and I talk to women who've quit, left, been fired, one of the things that I found just from a macro view of human nature and things is that decisions are always easier sometimes when they're made for us, versus if you're raising your hand and you're saying, I'm quitting, I am leaving. Right. And like, either which way, people tuning in, I mean, neither which way is easy. Neither which way is right or wrong. It's just like, it's one of those things that for you actively made the decision, but subconsciously you were avoiding making that decision because of the previous constructs of risk and the meaning of that, which is interesting. And what were your first like 90 days after you quit your job? What sort of thoughts did you have? What would you do differently if you could? Not to say that you regret anything, but
I mean, I wish I would have actually taken a look at my numbers far before, because I had this feeling, and it wasn't like I wasn't like looking at my money, right? Because I'm a financial expert. I'm very financially minded. It was more like ignorance was bliss, again, because it forced me to not make the decision. And like, I could live off my 9 to 5 salary. So any money that was coming in was just extra. So it was like, okay, I didn't really have a great solid understanding of what I was making consistently every month. I saw like I saw the sales come in, or I invoiced, clients, but I didn't really calculate concretely like what was happening every month. So I think I actually would have felt more secure if I had done that sooner. Because I remember, the first month I went into kind of fight or flight, but I went into fight where I was like, okay, we're going to like hit the ground running. We're going to get clients. We're going to pitch a bunch of people. And that's what I started doing. And I'm very good at that. I'm very good at like squeaky wheel gets the grease. I will come find you respectfully. I will come find you and I will pitch you and I will find your email and I will email you until I get an answer from you. And if the answer is no, okay, the answer is just no for now. And I will get back to you in 3 months. Like that's very much my attitude. My dad's a salesman. He like ingrained that in me. So that it was very much that for like the first month. And then I actually created my first course with my good friend.
How were you generating revenue before the leap? And then did it change or stay the same? Sorry, I should have brought that up sooner.
No, you're good. It was a lot of courses, workshops. I had some affiliate partners. It's so crazy to think about that then. It was November 2018. I probably had a total following of 10,000, 11,000. Which is crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's nuts. And so it was, I got together with my friend Alexis and we created our first course. And I'm a big believer in like setting goals that seem absolutely crazy. And if you don't hit them, you don't hit them. And we sat down and we're like, what's crazy goal? Like maybe we can do 10K. Let's just say we can do 20 and then we'll split it halfway. We did like 22, 24. We launched a course like right around the new year. It's called Master Your Money. It's now retired. A lot of that content's going in my upcoming book, but it was so funny because we launched that course and both of us were like, oh my God, a $10,000 course launch. Like I had never even thought that I could make that amount of money off of this. And now we do 20K in a couple days, like, or sometimes daily. Like it's so crazy to think about like what my mindset was in January of 2020, just being like, oh my gosh, this is so much money. And it is so much money, but now we can 10, 20X that pretty easily. So I remember thinking to myself, if I have gotten this much done side hustling, imagine what this business could be if I take it on full time. And that gave me a lot of security. It just mentally of like, if I could get on Good Morning America doing this for 20, 25 hours a week, imagine what I could do with 40 plus. And it was also the confirmation when you come into entrepreneurship, when you come into any new project, you have the exact same sentence, but different mindset. You have the phrase, oh my God, it's just me. And that's either, oh, fuck, that's just me, right? Of like, you might have to bleep me, I'm sorry.
But like, okay, we'll put explicit, but.
Okay, sorry. I just realized I didn't ask you if we could curse or not. But now that I know, oh, fuck, it's just me, right? Like, oh, I am completely in charge of this and I don't know what I'm doing. And like, I have to run everything myself. And like, oh my God, this is all me, right? Or, oh, this is all me. Oh, fuck, this is all me. Like, let's go. I completely trust in my ability to make money. I trust in my ability to ask for help. I trust in my ability to go out and get it. And for me, there was like limitations to corporate in a lot of ways. Corporate told me you can make this amount of money. And for me, I was like, okay, now that I'm not in corporate, like how much money can I make? How many people can I impact? How big can we get? And so that was like the freeing thing about entrepreneurship is you can literally say the same thing, but in a different way to yourself. You can either be, and we do this with money too, like either, oh shit, I am only dependent on myself. And that is terrifying. Or like, wow, this is my show. This is my life. This is my business. Let's fucking go.
Right? I feel like you need, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's something that's a really important mindset switch rather than the panic of it's just me to the like excitement and the motivation and the fire under your ass of like, oh my gosh, it's just me. I don't have to consult with anybody. I can make whatever decisions I want. Yeah, let's fucking go.
Right. It's the same sentence, but different energy behind it. I was going to say, if you haven't done so already, one of the things that came to my mind is the TikTok music, or maybe it was Instagram, but it was like the, oh Lord.
Oh, like, yes. And
like
you zoom out 3 times. Yeah, that's like the one trend I actually haven't done.
When you're
I wanted to, I just haven't done it.
It's just me. Like, I feel like I could see that. But so what did you learn? What did you learn about money? Like, how did your handle for, how did your ability to navigate money, what was that experience like when you went from what you're making in corporate to now 40 times what you're making in corporate? And like, what are some of the learning moments around, like, how have some of your beliefs around money changed? How have the way in which you spend change? And what was that experience, especially having the background that you did have, right?
Yeah. The interesting thing about that is I don't know what my life looks like now. And let me explain what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Like, we blew up in COVID. We blew up, in
Mm.
2020, in 2021. So I don't know if I'm going to be traveling, and still now with the Delta variant, like, I don't think we're even close to back to normal. Unfortunately, we got like a taste of it, but now it's like, it's just interesting because I don't know if I'm going to be going to give speaking engagements. I don't know what that looks like. I'm about to, knock on wood, and I hope to God it doesn't get canceled. My best friend Christine and I are going to Europe for September and October.
Well,
And
crossing my
that's
fingers
where,
for you.
oh,
Because
that's where I'm writing my book. And the interesting thing is it's like, okay, I have a little bit of money to play with now. I don't know what that looks like. And I'm also with my friend who is on a budget, and I'm happy to do that. But I'm also in the position where I can pay for her dinner and not think twice about it. And I can like make a sizable donation to a charity or an organization I believe in and not have to check my budget. And that's really, really cool. So I'm still adjusting to that. And also now we're being more strategic in terms of reinvesting a lot of money back into the business. Part of the reason why I think our business has been successful is we're super lean. Like, we are an online business. Pre-taxes, we're like 80% profitable,
That's
80
amazing.
to 85% profitable. So it's like, there's a lot of strategic decisions we can make now. I'm hiring a COO that's coming in October, and she's like by far my biggest investment up to this point. So yeah, it's a lot of being okay, like upgrading to Canva Pro and being like, we have the money for like $12 more a month. Like, we have the money, but we've just been, it's my frugality. It's the leanness of running the business. So yeah. And then my own personal life and my personal finances, like, I still haven't figured out what exactly that looks like, because I'm still such a saver. I'm saving still the majority of the money I'm making, which I love. But it's also the permission slip of like, okay, you can splurge on this thing. It's okay. I get a lot more facials. That's one thing I'm doing a lot more frequently. I get like a facial like once a month now, and it's great. And I love it.
That's amazing. Yes.
It makes me feel so much better. It's like, this is frivolous for me at least, but I love it. And like, it feels good. And like, let's do it.
Yeah, that is, I mean, this is, speaking of traveling to Europe, a friend of mine who I first went out of the country with, we met working at Target, and this is back in 2013. And we've traveled so many places around the globe since then. And like, when you look at the places we stayed when we were 22, just out of college, and then now it's like, you want to stay at the Four Seasons and like, total treat, like, and I
and I'll give you, no, I have literally that exact same story. So I studied abroad in Galway, Ireland, which is on the West Coast. And I was there for a semester, and I was a college student when I was there. So I remember going to, at the time was rated the best restaurant in Ireland. And I was there with a boyfriend at the time. He and I could only afford brunch, and we went to brunch twice during our study abroad. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is so luxurious and this is so amazing, but like, I can't afford dinner, and I really wish I could, but I'm a broke college student. And our first stop on this European trip is back to Galway, which is the first time I've been there. It's going to make me cry. The first time I've been there since I studied abroad. So it was like 6 years ago, because I studied abroad in 2015. And I literally remember I started crying. I got this huge smile on my face when I realized a couple months ago, I'm going to get to go to Kai and have dinner. Like, it's just so specific, but like, I'm going to get to go to this restaurant that 20-year-old me was like, oh gosh, maybe I could afford this someday. Like, maybe I could come and do this someday. And now I get to be there with like the most important person in my life, my best friend, and not even think twice about it. And it's going to be such a crazy full circle moment, because like I said, if you would have told 20-year-old me, hey, this is your life now, I would not have believed you. Not even close. Like, would not have believed that this was my life and that I was doing the work that I'm doing now. So I have the same experience as you, where it's traveling, and then you get older and you start saving your money a little bit. And especially like, you get to decide, and this is what I tell clients, you get to decide what you spend your money on, right? It's like mindful spending of, if you want to ball out traveling, great. That might mean you can't buy something else, but like, I'm willing to spend more money on travel than I spend on clothes or coffee. Doesn't mean I can't ever buy a new sweater or have a coffee. It just means that that's where I want the majority of my money to go, because that's going to give me the most joy, right? So I think it's just been a really cool realization of, oh, I'm going to get to go to Kai and have dinner.
Oh,
it's just the coolest.
That's so special. I'm crossing my fingers that everything stays hopefully temperate.
Me too. Like, we are like so anxious about it, but it's like the perfect, like, okay, we can't control it. It's gonna do what it's gonna do. We're vaccinated. That's all we can do. So.
Like, pray that is, yeah. Oh my gosh. One of the things I wrote down here in my pile of notes is, I'm curious on your experience and thoughts on, and I am reading a book, and they talked about math, or money can be math, but then there's also the energy of money. And this, like, sometimes if the math doesn't necessarily add up, but there's the energy behind money and balancing it. What's been your experience? Has it always been like super math driven? And then where has it like not been, and how has that changed since the wealth and income has increased, right?
Yeah. So, we have a lot of narratives that were fed by society around money. The biggest is that talking about money is taboo, and that you shouldn't do it because it's impolite or gauche. And that is a narrative perpetuated by the patriarchy. So the patriarchy tells us, don't talk about money. Talking about money is bad. Talking about money is impolite, because it keeps them in power. They profit off of our silence, right? If they tell us don't talk about money, they're talking about money. They get to maintain the social order. They get to maintain their power. And by perpetuating these narratives, they're keeping you from having that power. It's the same thing of wanting money is evil. Wanting money is bad. Wanting money is evil. It's greedy. It's not. I don't want a stack of government issued paper. That gets me nothing, right? I want what money can buy me. I want the ability to leave a toxic situation I don't want to be in anymore. I want the ability to donate to causes I believe in, or take my best friend out for dinner, or have kids or not have kids, or get married out of love and not out of financial dependency, right? Or to start my own business. So wanting money is not bad. It's not evil. But again, we're told this to make ourselves play small. And one of the other biggest narratives is, personal finance or money is like all math, and women are bad at math. So therefore you're bad at money. And it's 2021 and we're still told this, right? It's like, oh, it's all about the math, or at least it's what we've come to believe. I want to remind you, I'm a theater major. Now, I was fine at math, but like, your girl ain't a finance, like, it doesn't have a finance degree. It doesn't have an economics degree. It doesn't have an accounting, like, I'm none of those things, right? For me, it's less about math and more about like really distinct goal setting. Again, what choices do you want? Like, what do you want to use money as a tool? Or let me try that again. I've had coffee today too, which I don't normally do. And so I'm seeing sounds. Like, this is what happens when I drink coffee. Yeah, I get ahead of myself. My mouth starts talking before my brain can catch up.
I can definitely relate to that. And I think so can my listeners.
No,
which so I'm always like, if I talk too fast, you can slow it down to 0.8. I know, usually I slow
people speed up their podcasts.
I speed mine up to like 2 times, because if it's slow, my brain's like thinking about multiple things, where if it's fast, then I have to pay attention to what I'm like, okay,
true.
Yeah.
So what do you want to use money as a tool for? Right? Like, what do you want your life to look like, and how can you use money as a tool to get there? And when we say like there's math involved, it's very little, right? If you're making $4,000 and your expenses cost $2,000, you have $2,000 left over. Like, that's really it. And there are so many other calculators out there if you need to do any more complex math than that, right? So I think, the whole like money is mathematical and you need to be good at math in order to make a budget. No, you don't. And I'm not just saying that to like get you on the personal finance train. Like, you honestly don't need to quote unquote be good at math. It's more about setting goals for yourself and then getting honest with yourself about your financial situation, getting a little comfortable being uncomfortable, and looking at your bank account statements, your credit card statements, your savings, your student loan debt. We call it the ostrich effect in the personal finance community, which is like you bury your head in the sand.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, my problems don't exist. Yep. If I don't look at my student loan debt, I don't have to know about it. Right.
I've lived that world for like a period of my life after college.
Totally, we all have.
Oh. Like,
we do this with every aspect of our lives. It's like, I mean, scales and weight are a number that's kind of bullshit, but like, that's a perfect example of like, okay, I'm just not going to get in the scale, or I'm not going to count my calories because then I'm going to actually have to deal with it. Right. And I do that. I've done that in COVID 100%. So it's like, you have to get honest with yourself. Nothing changes in your life unless you change it. And this is part of the reason why I do the work that I do. So much of personal finance is your own individual choices, right? Of like setting up a budget, starting to invest, negotiating your salary, spending money on things that are important to you. But so much of it is broader than that. It's the fact that women are going to earn less than men. And if you're a woman of color, you're going to earn even less than a white woman. It's women don't invest compared to men, or they wait longer to invest. So we lose out on money, right? Or, just opportunities don't come to us like they do to men. Or, we've been told actively by society, again, women shouldn't have money, and society just doesn't like women with money. That's the other thing I've come to realize. Like, they just really don't like it, because there is judgment and shame no matter where you are in your personal finance journey. There is judgment and shame when you're asking, quote unquote, and there is no stupid questions, but quote unquote stupid questions, right? Or when you're trying to get financially educated and you've maybe made mistakes in the past, right? There's shame or judgment there. There's also shame and judgment when you have a 6-figure salary or a 7-figure business, right? There's so much shame and judgment there too. Go ahead.
Like, how have you coached on changing the narrative to getting women to openly talk about money and finances from a place of not being shameful, but also like, I mean, be boastful, do whatever you want to do, right? Like, I'm not here to tell people they shouldn't be anything, but like, how do you create, like, what do you recommend to get people to talk about it more so that it isn't this taboo topic like money and sex are?
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about this with you for hours. When this was part of like the realization I came to, and why I do the work that I do, is I read the statistic of 78 cents to a man's dollar, right? And that's on average for women, even worse if you're a woman of color. So we know about the pay gap. We also have an investing gap. Like I mentioned before, we're either waiting longer to invest than men or not investing at all. And then women on average live 7 years longer than men do. So we're taking less money, it's growing at a slower rate, and then we're expected to live longer on that money. And once you hear an equation like that, you're like, we have to talk about money. We have to talk about money. And like I said before, I don't think we have any sort of equality for any marginalized group: women, people of color, members of the LGBTQ community, disabled or differently abled people. We don't have any sort of equality until we have financial equality. And so if we can actually view talking about money as a form of protest, literally as a form of protest, if you can view you paying off your debt as a form of protest, because it is. Society wants to keep you in debt. They want to keep you small, right? They want to keep you from investing, from building your wealth, from investing in companies you believe in. They want to keep you from negotiating your salary. They want to keep you from getting a promotion, right? So if you can view all of these things as acts of protest against an unjust, inequitable system or society, it's more than you, right? So my personal finance journey has been amazing. I have, been able to build wealth and will continue to do that. But it's like, I have shared my story to hopefully change the lives of so many other women, because it's not just about me. And that's what financial feminism is, right? Financial feminism is you getting your financial shit together and being able to bring a community along with you. It's the ability to have your own money and use that money as a tool or a resource to, again, have all of these choices: businesses, children, donate to causes you believe in, right? Retiring early, right? That's all of the options it offers you. So one of the most beautiful things I think about being women is that we are so, we're so giving. And that's just something that I think, we are taught, and, something that is a beautiful part of the female experience. And I think that when I tell women, you getting rich is fighting the patriarchy and bringing women along with you, it's liberating, because it's like, yeah, I want to get it. I want to get the bag and then bring everybody else along with me. And again, if the very system and society that we exist in doesn't want women to have money, you building your financial foundation is a protest against that system.
Yeah. What would you say for listeners, like the top 3 things that they can do in their personal life, and then the top 3 things they can do as a business owner? Is one of the things that I've learned and that I am adamant and coach on is, before getting into the business realm, let's get real about, because like when it comes to like setting goals, and if you want to create runway and have things saving, like we first have to get clarity on what is currently coming in, what's going out, how much do you need to save in order to give you that comfort and that signal that like you can leap. Right. So I'm curious, 3 tips on personal, and then 3 tips when it comes to business.
Yep. 3 tips for personal. 1, automate your savings. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account into your savings account. It happens on autopilot. You don't even realize it. It's like you're paying yourself first. You are another bill. Future you is another bill, right? And you can set up an automatic transfer and have that happen without you even realizing it, without you even having to consciously do it. The second thing, I talk about this on the podcast. We have a whole episode about how to set up this practice, but we call it a money date, setting time for financial self-care. Of sitting down half an hour once a month. And if you're a business owner, I recommend more than that, but at least once a month, where your sole job is to look at your money. And it is non-negotiable. It's in your calendar. If that's something that scares you, grab yourself a glass bottle of wine and like make yourself really comfortable and just take a look at your bank statements, take a look at your net worth, take a look at your investments, right? Get really honest with yourself about what's going on and set goals. The reason we do that, one, is to, always tweak and figure out, what am I doing well? What can be improved? But you also won't see progress unless you see your progress. So it's going to be really hard to keep going. If you're trying to save, let's say $5,000 in a year, it's going to be really hard to motivate yourself if you don't know that you're making any sort of progress toward that goal. So you need to check in with yourself. The third thing is get really clear, like I said before, on what do you want to spend your money on? I call these the 3 value categories. These are the 3 areas in your life that you want the majority of your discretionary money to go. So for me, it is travel, food out, and you can't see it, but plants. I have 50 plants in a 650 square foot apartment. There's 8.
Where do you live, by the way?
I live in Seattle.
Oh, Seattle. Okay.
I am digital nomading in T-minus 2 weeks. 3 weeks.
Where are you going in 2 weeks?
We're going to Europe, and then we're going to Dubai in January.
Oh my God. What? Oh my God. When you said September and October, my brain was like, that's in another few months. And then when you said
it is August 12th.
Okay. All right.
Isn't that wild? No, I've been having that too. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to pack up my entire apartment in 3 weeks.
I cannot believe. And then you're going to where? Shanghai in January?
Dubai.
January.
And then I got a speaking tour in February. Yeah.
We're going to Chicago. You better come to Chicago.
I don't know. I love Chicago.
You said
if any people from, probably not great.
No.
I'm doing a college speaking tour. So if you're out there and you work at a college or attend a college, come have me speak. But this is not a time to shamelessly plug.
Okay.
So yeah, those are my 3 personal things. In terms of business,
money dates, and then decide what you want to spend your money on, which I think what I'll add to that
categories.
As someone who grew up with, my environment sounds like the complete opposite of your environment growing up. So it was like money doesn't grow on trees. There was no financial education. It was like, you kind of were a little bit on edge in terms of like the money situation. And money was the root of all evil. It was a really like cultivated a terrible relationship with money. And I like hated money, but it was a love hate because I would like want something, but then I would hate it at the same time.
Have you listened to episode 3 of my podcast?
No, not yet.
I would recommend it. It'd be really interesting. I do. It's called Overcome Your Psychological Bullshit Around Money. And we lead you through like a journaling exercise around your money beliefs and what was set. Because fun fact, not so fun fact, your money beliefs are cemented by age 7. The majority of the way you view money. All
our beliefs are cemented by age 7 and in the womb. And I think we'll link that number 3. Like my journey with money has completely transformed in the past 4-5 years, but it was a relentless And a lot of what transformed that was, yes, my budget or my income has gone up, but it's actually having my income go up at such a young age and then crash and burn later in life to then now I'm in my 30s and it's like skyrocketed. But the way that I view my money and I have a relationship with my money, the energy behind it is so different. And for me, like living out of abundance rather than scarcity. So even though if I'm pulling back in one area of spending, let's say shopping, but I'm like pushing forward in travel, similar to you, it's like not having dirty drama thoughts around like I'm restricting myself and spending money in shopping, but like, how can I think differently when I spend money when it comes to clothes, even though I'm not spending as much, right? And like just changing that relationship. So yeah, we'll link number 3. I'll listen to it because I'm always like, I love being in this space because it's kind of like motivation. You can't just do it once and think it lasts for the rest of your life. You got to constantly, it's like showering. You got to shower
eating
every
a vegetable.
Day. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I do that. I'm like, I eat a piece of broccoli and I'm like, I should be 15 pounds lighter now. And I'm super healthy and just like, call me Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm like, I'm done.
Why has it not happened yet?
Why
done? Is it not Amazon?
Everything's done.
Shipped?
Right. I took 10,000 steps one day. Great. All my problems are solved.
The consistency of it. I love it.
Or therapy, right? I go to one therapy session and like everything's fixed and it's like
solves the world's problems, right?
Right.
Go to my life coaching call and I'm like, yeah, but why isn't everything fixed? Okay. So then the second bit with the business owners, what are the 3 things that you recommend?
The first thing, it's going to sound so obvious, but you need to track every number you have. We literally call it internally the BS, the big spreadsheet. It is like everything, every invoice that comes in, has it been received? Have we taken taxes out of it? Like what was the day it was paid? Like I got all of that in a big spreadsheet. I even have an accountant and I still have a big spreadsheet because for me, like I need to see things that are happening. And I based it off of my friend Mal. She has a course and a spreadsheet called Get Your Sheet Together. I'll send it to you if you want to link it, but it's great.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, is just like, know your numbers, track your numbers. And again, it could be scary, but like, it's going to save you so much time and anxiety, especially when you're going to pay your taxes and like do your profit and loss statements. The second thing, with knowing your numbers is figure out what I like to call your ramen noodle number. What is the bare minimum that your business needs to make in order to not only keep you alive, pay your rent, pay your groceries, pay your student loan payments, whatever your necessary expenses are, but also cover your taxes and expenses. I think it's a rude awakening when you make your first $1,000 in your business and you're like, oh my gosh, $1,000 in my pocket. Nope. You got 30 to 40% for taxes. You have whatever amount for your business expenses. And then you get to take home your money. The money you receive as a W-2 or 9-to-5 employee, right? That's already taken taxes out. The money you're receiving is your money at that point. It's the exact opposite when you're a business owner. So the money you're receiving is not your money yet. It's partially your money, but also Uncle Sam's money, also your business expenses. So keep in mind, not only when you're pricing yourself, but also, calculating what do I need to make to keep myself and my business alive? Like you should know that number. What is the bare minimum that your business needs to make to cover your personal expenses, your business expenses, and your business taxes? And I would say the third thing is set aside those taxes before you do anything else. So I have a high yield savings account that's specifically for my business taxes, that every time we get paid, I'm transferring money into that account so that I know when it comes tax season, I am paying my business taxes and not either going into debt or not paying my taxes at all because I didn't set aside, that particular money. So again, it's so important to realize a good chunk of that money is not yours. It is going to go to Uncle Sam. And I have my little socialist heart is so happy 99% of the time, but the 1% of the time I have to pay my business taxes is rough. So like, I know, I'm like, oh, libraries, roads. Okay. But yes, you really just need to know your numbers. You need to have a general understanding of like what your bare minimum is in terms of making sure you're covering yourself, and then setting aside your taxes first before you do anything else.
Love them. You guys heard it first on the She Did It Her Way podcast. Oh, I so agree. It's such a great reminder. I mean, like that takes me back to when I first became a freelance consultant subcontractor at 24. I definitely was like, oh my God, my billable day rate. Oh, this is amazing. And then about a year and a half in, I was like, oh yeah, what I take home every day that I make, that's not all mine. Those are,
Mm-mm.
I got to bring in those taxes for that, which obviously paid them, but it was still, I was like, ooh, well, maybe got to save a little bit more next year. Here we go.
Right. Or, when you're pricing yourself again, think
Build it
through
in.
that. $1,000 project is not $1,000 in your pocket, right?
Nope.
And especially I see this a lot with content creators or influencers is they'll charge a brand $1,000 and it's like, okay, you probably paid a photographer, you maybe bought props, you have your website hosting services, you have, all of your time and energy that went into this thing. Great.
And
Plus taxes. Right.
So your net, like of what you're paying, it definitely is helpful and most necessary to do that math. Okay. I have kept you for an obscene amount of time and I am so grateful. And this has been amazing. I have some rapid fire questions as we wind down. So whatever comes to mind is, what is something in your life that is a non-negotiable?
Sleep. 8 hours.
Yes.
Sorry. We're doing rapid fire. Yes.
Oh
sleep.
yeah. No, I am with you. I am like a 9-hour person if I can, which.
No, that's me too. Honestly, I'm like really good at like 9.5, 10, but that very rarely happens now. So it's
really
like
good at 9.5.
Yeah.
I love that. What is something that you believe that others may think is kind of insane? Or maybe
that Star Wars episode 3 is the best Star Wars.
Oh,
it's one of my most controversial opinions.
Okay. No, I love
very
it.
Specific. But
beautiful. What is something, I know I asked a non-negotiable, but like, where do you find that you are setting the strongest boundaries in your life? And where's an area that you are practicing on being a little bit more, you're being like, you want to practice setting stronger boundaries?
I am really proud of the progress I've made in setting boundaries with my family. It's been very good, very hard, but very hard, but I'm really proud of myself. Boundaries were non-existent a couple of years ago. And I think honestly, like social media, I'm very addicted to social media and I wish I wasn't, but I think all of us are. I don't have a Finsta. I don't have like a personal Instagram. So when I want to consume social media, like I'm on my business account and that's just really hard. And like, I love TikTok and I'll scroll through TikTok for like a half hour and be like, I'm in a time warp. Like what just happened? So I think that that's one thing I want to get better at is less time on my phone, less time on a screen.
Yeah. I saw a meme so I knew TikTok came out like during the pandemic or no, before that. Right. But
it was before that, but it really blew up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, not necessarily resistant. I was just kind of like, meh, I don't really want to like a new thing. And I had some friends that were like, you need to get on TikTok in terms of just like, it's so funny, whatever. And then there was a meme about how like the millennial at the beginning of COVID was like, I don't need to get on TikTok. And then it like, I don't know, in middle of COVID, they're like, this is so funny. And I'm like, that is me because it's addicting because it's hilarious and it's also educational. So anyway, but yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, I can't even open up the app. Otherwise I just watch dog videos and stuff. What you mentioned musicals, what is your favorite musical that you've ever performed in? And then what is your favorite
an easier question. The first one's an easier question. Okay. I thought you were going to favorite musical ever, and that's like asking me to pick a favorite child.
Well, I am asking you that as a second question.
Favorite musical I've ever performed in. I did 42nd Street, which for those of you who don't know is a tap show. I'm a tapper. A lot of people don't know that about me. It was so fun. It was the most physically demanding show I've ever been in. I think we had 7 quick changes, including shoes, which if you're an actor, you know that not only quick changes are a nightmare, but shoe changes are just awful.
When was this, like high school or college?
This was college. Yeah, I did. There was a community theater that still my family's involved in that I would do every year. I did it for like 6 years. And we did 42nd Street. I've also done Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat twice. And I do love that show. It's a very campy show, but it's so fun. Yeah. And then in terms of like straight theater, that's what I trained in college. My senior capstone role was really fun. I was in a Sarah Rule play called The Clean House. These are all deep cuts unless you're like a theater person. But favorite musical, I'm going to cop out a favorite musical ever and tell you favorite musical I've ever seen, which was Once on This Island, the revival in, is that 2019, 2018. I was there like 2 weeks before it closed. I rushed it. I got $42 tickets in the front row. I don't know how well you know the show, if at all, but it is just beautiful. The staging of it, they literally had a live goat. They were on sand. Like if you were in the front row, your feet were in sand. They have a river in the middle of the stage. It's in the round, which means that there's no, in the round means there's audience everywhere. It's like a circle and the stage is in the center. The staging, the acting, like it was the most spectacular production I've ever seen.
That's incredible.
And I had seen that show before and was like, oh yeah, this is a good show. But like, I could not believe the production. It was just phenomenal.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was so good.
That's cool. Oh, love it. $100 or less purchase one can make in their business. What would you recommend if they only had $100?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we live and die by Canva. Like it's such just easy. None of us are graphic designers, and that's been huge for us. And just, I mean, this is more than $100 eventually, but if you can hire somebody else to do something for you, hire somebody else to do something for you. Like, especially even when I was working a side hustle, I had an assistant who would do marketing for me for 5 hours a week. And that's like, that was hugely helpful. So, you know, if you can pay somebody $100 to get a project out of your way that you've been putting off, or that you don't feel like you can do very well, or you just don't have time for, great investment.
Hire out. Yep.
2
last questions. One is what's been your most recent favorite book? Could be business, could be fiction.
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, I read Untamed in 2020. It's gonna make me cry. I read Untamed in 2020 and that utterly changed my life. Glennon Doyle's Untamed. She is like one of the dream guests for my show. Is like, we really hope to have her on. This is me like putting it out in the universe.
Totally.
But, Untamed, I think, is required reading for every person, but especially for every woman. Like, I need you to go and buy a copy of Untamed. Like, it is just absolutely life changing. It's such a good book.
I have not read that. I've heard of it, but I will put that on my next book list. Okay.
And they're vignettes. They're small chapters. So it's very easy to like read it through really fast. Don't like take your time, really soak it in. It's literally a book where you get out your highlighter and you're like, oh my God. And then you realize you're highlighting every line and you're like, okay, then I'm just not going to highlight anything.
You're just like, I need to take the book and put it into my brain. Thank you.
Literally. Yes. It's like one of the only books in my bedside table. It's like become a Bible very much. Of just like, I will open it to a random page and just read the random page like I would do with my Bible as a kid. So yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, love it. Okay. Last question. Where can my followers find you, connect with you, and soak up all your goodness?
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. I'm at her first 100K on all the socials, HERFIRST 100K. Our 2 biggest platforms, communities are Instagram and TikTok. And we have a podcast called the Financial Feminist Podcast. Season 1 is already out. Season 2 is coming next year. And just appreciate your support. Come say hi. Come join the community. We would love to have you.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us. And to everyone out there, keep doing it your way. Until next time, we'll see you then. If you enjoyed today's podcast episode, you can head on over to shediditherway.com, where you can access the entire vault of She Did It Her Way podcast episodes. And you can also access free trainings and resources all about how to make the ultimate leap from your 9 to 5. And if you enjoyed today's podcast episode, I would be so grateful if you headed on over to iTunes and left a review letting me know what you love about the She Did It Her Way podcast. Until next time, keep doing it your way.